Right.
Oh, woohoo!
It was slightly technically challenged. We had too many lives going at the same time.
That was yeah. I was like, how do I get in? Oh God! Wow, that shows that this is just a bit of amateur hour, but that doesn't matter. It makes us human, Natalie, as far as I'm concerned.
Human. And I think also the other thing to mention is that if anybody needs to keep their passwords nice and secure or have dual factor authentication, both Lou and I use something called LastPass. So there's your top tip for the morning or for the evening.
Top tip, get LastPass. It does get a bit annoying though when every time you log into something, it does sort of say, do you want me to remember this? And a lot of the time you're like, not necessarily, no, thanks for offering. And then you say no, and then you get to the next page and it comes up again. You sure? You don't want me to? No, I don't want you to remember my Asda password. I don't really need that necessarily remembering via LastPass. I'm not going to share it with anybody securely. It's yeah, unnecessary sometimes.
To be fair, I have saved all my passport details, credit cards, etc. So if I'm abroad and lose my passport, at least I've got my passport number and stuff. Yeah.
No,
so
that's really good.
And I've got the kids' passwords and stuff in there as well, the kids' passports and stuff. So yeah, it's a great app and a great tool, and it's for free.
And it's for free. We love a freebie.
Right, so let's have a chat then, Lou. Earlier this week, or it might have been last week, I was talking to the Go Solo page about having intentions and setting intentions for the year. And as opposed to huge goals, so, you know, I'm going to have sold 1 million items or whatever.
I'm going to take over the
quite a big
world in the next
determination. Have you seen this lovely book that I got?
Oh, yeah, the same one, actually.
Yeah. Funny that.
Merry Christmas.
It was great. It was great. I opened it. I was just over the moon. It was lovely. Christmas gift. So
that's a beautiful client gifts. People that love us because we love them and do good bloody work. Really. That's what it,
yes, thanks for world domination. So Luke, tell us about your words of this for this year to help you focus and move forward.
It's something I hadn't really thought about too much. So obviously one of the things that that we tell other people to do and that we were told to do way back when was, develop your mission, develop your vision. And part of that is identifying those words that really pull you back into that and focus you on exactly what it is that you're trying to achieve. What is your, what's the point? What are you gunning for? And when you did your live, I realised that I hadn't done mine I hadn't sort of set my intentions for this year. I don't like resolutions, but I like intentions. I think that it sounds better, whether it's because it's less cliched, I'm not sure. But, listening to your live really made me think about what it was that I was looking for this year in terms of my business and my life, really, because obviously the two are intertwined very intimately. So I think I commented on yours that it was purpose. So that was my one word. That was the only one that I'd shared or kind of identified. And I had a chat with my coach, Sarah Watts, who's absolutely amazing. And we basically just brainstormed all these words. So I've now got about 300 words that I want to try and incorporate in my business. And she said, you need to narrow it down to 5. And I know you've got 3, Natalie, but Sarah kind of gave me a little bit of leeway and said, you're allowed 5. I was like, all right, then I'll have 5. So today, I've only just finalized it today. So my words for this year, and again, this is, business and life, are collaboration, elevation. So that's much like your uplifting word just said. So elevating ourselves and each other. In terms, as you say, uplifting. Purpose, that's still in there. Value. So that's about giving value, constantly giving value to other people. And breakthrough. So whether that's breakthrough or breakthrough, it's a bit, you know, I suppose that's 6 words then, but don't tell anyone. So it's breaking through those limiting beliefs that you hold, breaking through that, you know, any sort of barriers that you're creating for yourself in your mindset and in your world. So as I say, everything, all of those words are in terms of what I want for my business, or what I want from my business, what I'm offering to other people, and what I want within my life. So it is, you know, it aligns with every area, every aspect of my day-to-day world, really. So yeah, so
super exciting. Now, the breakthrough one I think will be quite. Cheers. I'm my last cup of tea. Well, I say it's my last cup of tea. I'll have one after dinner again. So with the breakthrough, I think that'd be quite pertinent to those people that are on Go Solo, because a lot of ladies that I speak to are saying, I want to be a VA, I want to be a florist, I want to move my business in a different direction, but I just don't think I can. And you don't feel that they're in a position where they're worthy.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that's really difficult for a lot of us. And going back to our Clubhouse conversation we had the other day, avoiding the pitfalls. One of the things is not understanding why. And I think every time you ask, or you feel unworthy, you feel that you aren't necessarily capable, or whatever it is, you have to ask yourself, firstly, why do you want to do it? Why do you want to do it? And then once you've figured out that why, and then you start realizing, oh, I don't feel like I'm capable, or I don't have the confidence. Why? What's preventing you? So if you continue, just be an annoying child to yourself all the time. Why? But why? But why? But why? And the more you drill down into that, the more clarity you get. And the more clarity you get, the more what you're doing, you know, you become focused on what you're doing. When you're focused on what you're doing, you know what to do next. And when you then take action, you see progress, and that in turn motivates you. So it's that constant loop, isn't it, of that kind of cycle. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
And I think that I had a breakthrough session, it seems, earlier today with one of my mentees. She, like all of us, struggling with homeschooling, and her business doesn't really work well in that way. But we don't know how long it's going to be for, and she's got outgoings with regards to her business, but she's not bringing anything in at the minute. So one of the biggest things that she has so many ideas, but last week she was ready to give it all up. She was just like, I'm just not gonna, I just can't anymore, it's just too many barriers, etc. And I'm like, what you need to do, so I didn't use this analogy with her, but a great analogy that I heard from Angela Cox is, hers is about filling the backpack. But so if by the end of this year you want to have done X, let's say that's climb Kilimanjaro, so that's the big goal. And if I said to you, in December you're climbing Kilimanjaro, you would run a mile or further. Or walk a mile.
Like,
but you would freak out completely and be overwhelmed. Yeah. Whereas if I said to you, this week I would like you to buy a pair of trainers, and this month I'd like you to have walked 10 miles. You're
breaking it down.
Yeah. So taking those 12 months and saying, by the end of the year I want to be there. But don't look at that. We've said that now. That's fine. Said it, we've put it on the piece of paper, fine. What we're just looking at, and for her business will be quite centered around Mother's Day and then possibly Easter. So we're like, okay, for your business, just think about Mother's Day. And she's like, oh, but Easter's only 4 weeks after. No, stop.
Irrelevant. Isn't it? It is though. It is. It's irrelevant. I think, you know, exactly what you're saying there. It's like, have your goal, have your end game, visualize that end game. And then, you know, if you focus too much on that end game, you then become overwhelmed with the journey that you need to take in order to get there. So instead of looking at, as your client did, like, oh, but what's next? you have to then be mindful of what's the very next step, what's in front of your nose right now. I'm 100% guilty of constantly trying to do everything at once, because I'm a mess in my mind. For some reason, I can help other people to completely deconstruct what they need to do and give them a really effective, pragmatic way of tackling things. Can't do that for myself. Need somebody else to do that for me. And I think we're probably all very similar. Right, exactly. This is like coaches have coaches have coaches have coaches. VAs have VAs have VAs have. You know, we're in the world, what I call the world's greatest pyramid scheme. So I do think it's you know, it's really important to look at what you can do right now. Obviously, have deadlines, and don't worry about the next thing on the list until you've completed the thing on the list right now. And that's not to say that you can't work a month in advance of yourself. I mean, I would personally recommend working sort of 4 to 6 weeks in advance of yourself in order to make sure that you've got wiggle room for if the world throws something else at you in the meantime. But you don't need to worry about Easter when you're focusing on Mother's Day. If you worry about Easter before Mother's Day, you're not going to get Mother's Day done, and then Easter's popped up as well. So actually, you know, it's you've effed yourself over, really, haven't you? So yeah.
I think one of my big things is to live each day with purpose.
Yep.
However, that purpose could be rest.
Yep.
Those rest days are just as important. So, you know, giving yourself a silly deadline, and deadlines are fantastic, and I've got them. I think everyone should have them. Allowing your deadline to slip is also okay. That deadline is there to motivate you and to push you towards it. But if something else happens, I mean, I had, you know, oh, we're all going into lockdown, everyone's going to homeschool. I had a night where I just blubbed and I was like, I don't want to, I've got all my plans, and you know, and it's okay that things change, but if you just waited for everything to be perfect, it's never going to
work. It doesn't work. Yeah, and I think that one of the things when it comes to I don't want to call it scheduling, because I don't personally, I avoid even the word scheduling. For me, I like to structure, and I like a routine. That's not to say that I do this at 7 o'clock in the morning every day. It's just that the order in which I do things tends to remain the same. So it takes the decision making away from you. You can't procrastinate over something that you just naturally habitually do every day. So it actually sort of routine sets you free. Again, I'm like cliche, but it does set you free. I've lost my train of thought. What did you say now? Oh, scheduling. Right, okay, sorry. I went off on a tangent. It's very, very important to schedule blank spaces into your diary, or into your calendar, or however you do it. And I think this is very important when it comes to self-care and mental health. I know that if I don't take that time, if I don't make that time, schedule that time for myself, my body will decide for me and do it at the most inopportune moment. So it'll be when I've got like a heavy deadline looming or something, and suddenly I get these killer migraines. And I know that's because I haven't taken the opportunity to have that rest. And if you don't rest and you don't recoup, you're not going to be able to show up in the best way, not just for yourself in your own business, but for your clients as well. And you're promising to deliver, and then you're not capable of delivering because you've burnt out, you've put too much on yourself. So very much taking time, just even if it's once a week. I mean, I don't have children, so it's an entirely different kettle of fish for me. If I want to lie in the morning, I can. You know, no one's waking. Well, my cats wake me up, but my children don't. I mean, my cats can wait to be fed. You know, they've got biscuits as far as I'm concerned. You can't really say that to children. You can't go, "You've got biscuits." Well, I don't know. You might. You got biscuits in your bowl. But yeah, I do think rest is really, really important. And as you said earlier, if all you accomplish that day is you spent 3 hours watching the Netflix thing, then so be it. As long as those rest times are rest times and they're not distracting you or taking you away from your journey and your purpose and your long-term purpose and the goal that you are sort of striving towards each day. Really, that is something that I ask myself on a day-to-day basis. When I'm doing something I think I shouldn't be doing this, I say to myself, is this taking me further towards my goal or away from my goal? Is this keeping me on my path, or is it taking me off my path? And sometimes it just takes you to ask yourself a simple question like that, or that specific question, for you to sort of go, oi, sort yourself out, and get back on track.
Your 5 words of intentions, my 3 intentions, those generally do help you on track.
Definitely.
I also have a business and a personal, can't remember what it's called, like a motive.
Yeah, intention, mission, vision.
I think I called it, yeah. And and if it doesn't fit within that, if it isn't going to help me be present with my kids, if it isn't going to, make me a happier person, etc., then probably not for me. So
taking you away from your path.
Yeah. Beauty Bonds on. Hi, Emma. Emma did a live with me on Monday. Lovely to see you, and great. If you've got any questions, please do pop them in the comments, and Lou and I will endeavour to help.
I've got comments not available. I don't have access to comments or reactions.
I'll be the reader of the comments.
It's because I'm in your it's because I'm in your house right now, Nat. That's what it is.
So right, so we've spoken about this is one of the things that you've been talking about now is, can you see me? I feel like I've gone really dark.
I can see you. No, you look beautiful.
One of the things that one of the reasons I wanted to open a group up on my page and for all the ladies looking to start up is to have an accountability partner, because we've spoken about coaches have coaches, and that's great.
Coaches.
Every coach has a coach, and I think that that's great, and I think that having somebody accountable at the end of the day. I spoke another one of my mentees today was saying, I don't get out the house. This is what you do as well. I know you said that. So I went for a walk today with my little one. We didn't go that far. We maybe only did 3,000-4,000 steps, but we went out with the dog, and she didn't want to go.
4 steps today.
She went out with a hoodie on, which is an avocado hoodie. I'll post the picture. It's quite funny. She had this enormous hoodie, and she's the tiniest little titch anyway. But so to have someone accountable at the end of the week or the end of the day, and just to say, this, how did you get on? This is how I got on. And I think you do feel accountable.
Yes.
If you say to yourself, I'm going to get 3,000 steps, 4,000, whatever, but nobody else knows about it, generally
it doesn't matter.
It can be pushed.
It becomes like, it's because we deprioritize ourselves. So I think part of this is I've got very, very strong views on accountability, because when I've tried to have an accountability buddy in the past, it's turned into somebody just messaging me saying, have you done this? Have you done that? And that to me is pressure, and I don't like it. That's not what I'm after. And it's funny because I was having this conversation earlier with my friend Becky, who's also my marketing guru, and I said to her, it's like I need a doer in my life because I'm a thinker. So I need somebody to have that influence on me in the doing aspect. Whereas and vice versa, some people are just doers. They're not really thinking about where they're going. So it's quite a complementary situation. And I live in my head as well as out loud. I mean, it pours out of me. And I think that the thing is with an accountability buddy is having somebody that cares. They give a shit about what you're doing. You give a shit about what they're doing, and you're not only holding each other responsible, you're propping each other up. You're offering support to each other. So, and I think that's why it hasn't worked for me in the past, is because the person who's been my accountability person has just sort of taken it upon themselves to hold me accountable, as opposed to utilize me as a support. And I think that, you kind of have to look at it in those two different ways, and it works differently for everyone. Some people like to be kind of like asked, have you done this? Have you done this? I don't, I hate it. But earlier on when I was talking to Becky, she said, oh, have you got any deadlines or dates sorted out for your content strategy? And I said, no, I haven't. You tell me what to do and when to do it, and I'll get it done. So that to me she's holding me accountable, and therefore my deadlines are now a priority because I'm treating my business as a client. I would never let a client down, but I let myself down all the time. So, you know, so it's having that that semblance of accountability, I think, is really, really important. And like what me and you are doing, Natalie, like everything we're doing at the moment, we're getting each other involved in, and we're making sure that we support each other. And in terms of that, that means that you're now, because you're supporting me so well, I'm now invested in the fact that you care about my business. I can't then just, you know, sod off and be all lackadaisical about it, because you care about it now. It's not just me, you care about it. Therefore, I've got to do this for you as well as me now. So it's that kind of accountability that I think is really important.
And I think if you can find an accountability partner where your skills are complementary, I think that's quite handy as well. So for me, I would, you know, if someone said to me, have you written XYZ, the checklist, the, you know, this worksheet or whatever, I'll be like, no, I've researched it and I've got some ideas, but not really, because I'm really scared of words. Words are not my strong point. I enjoy reading stories, don't get me wrong. I don't enjoy reading. If I went onto your website, I would skim read blogs. I would not read them word for word.
But do you prefer to watch a video?
Yeah, so I would watch videos, and I would see, I would look at unfortunately for some people out there, because I'm a web designer, I look at a web page and you've either got me or lost me in seconds.
Because I'm a writer, I'm exactly the same when it comes to content, and I get my mental red pen is all over it. Like I'm like, oh, you know, you know, I spot things that other people wouldn't even notice. But like videos, for example, I don't want to sit and listen to people. So if I watch a video on somebody's social media or whatnot, if it doesn't have subtitles, scroll on. I don't want to sit. I don't want to. It feels like more of an. But that's me. That's my. I read this earlier on. Preferred modality. So my preferred modality is well, I have three really. I like talking. I like to be. You know, I'm quite happy. For me, I like to talk and I like to be visual in terms of what I'm giving, but that's not necessarily what I like to receive. I like to receive written format content. If somebody's done a podcast, I'd rather read the transcription than listen to it. I'm not an audio, which is weird because I love Clubhouse at the moment and I'm listening to that like it's radio, you know, and I never put the radio on. I don't listen to anything during the day at all. But now I'm on there constantly, it's in the background and I'm like, oh, I need to jot that down. You know, it's a really, really useful tool. But I've never got on with.
So I do podcast editing.
Yes.
So I listen to the audio and I take out, you know, if there's duplicate words or ums and ahs and whatever. And I love that bit. And then I have an associate who I then send it to, and she does the they're called speaker notes, show notes and the transcription, and she checks that it's automatically transcribed on the software. But obviously you need to go through and check it. So she checks the transcription, and that's just not my gig. So so to have people in your corner that compliment you, and I think so that with accountability partners, to find someone. So if I said, so if I said to you, have you done that checklist? And I'm like, no, I've kind of, but I don't want to read it. Then you'd go, well, I'll read it, and you make it look pretty. And then vice versa. When you've got something, I'll make it look pretty. So yes.
It's like when we were on Clubhouse the other day and we were talking to Lima, and she said that, was it Lima? Lima? It was Lima, wasn't it? And she said that she hadn't even thought about, or it hadn't occurred to her about utilising like a skill swap situation. And I thought that was really interesting because that's how I got my first in, was from somebody saying to me, my mate Dave, my mate now, you know, at the time was somebody unknown to me, who said, you know, fair enough, I'm starting out. And he said, okay, well, I'll sort your website out for you if you write me a blog post once a month. And I was like, well, that's a bloody good blooming dealio, isn't it? Like, I'm not going to say no to that. And from that, and then I ended up being his VA for a while. That's how I got into being a VA. I fell into it. It wasn't a conscious decision necessarily. But if you don't know what opportunities are out there for you, or how to get your ins with people, or in the industry, it's really hard. And it's something I've always sort of said is, if you don't know, then you don't know what questions to ask. I'd never heard of a VA 3 years ago when I started being a VA.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm a VA. And people go, what's a VA? I'm like, I don't know, but I am one. And it's been brilliant. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I genuinely love it. And I'm grateful that I found the opportunity. But I didn't know. All I knew was that I wanted to work from home. And actually, when I was thinking about what we were going to discuss this afternoon, one of the things was that is like the business mindset and everything else. But there are different types of people within running your own business. You might want to be somebody that just literally says, okay, I'd like the work to be given to me. I do the work, then I leave the work. You might not want to grow a profitable business. You might literally just want to work from home. And identifying what you, and this goes back to, asking why. Identify what you want, why you want it. Do you want freedom of time and no responsibility, or minimal responsibility? Then be an associate VA. Do you want to conquer the world like I do and like you do? All right, then we'll utilize all of our expertise and our experience and our and our knowledge and our wisdom and everything else, and create something giant that's going to take up all of our time. One of the guys on Clubhouse earlier, he said that entrepreneurs will often work 60-hour weeks in order to avoid a 40-hour week.
It's true. But hi Anna, nice to see you. So yes, and actually funny Anna's on now, because it's exactly that I was speaking to her earlier today, and you could go and do a job for the sake of doing a job to earn some money, and hats off to you. If you need to earn money, go and do that. You could find a way to make money out of your passion, and that way it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
So you wake up every morning, like you were saying. If I do a 60-hour week and all I've done is speak to people and mentor them in business, and do some creative stuff with my video and audio editing and whatnot, then the 60-hour week will fly by, and I'll be happy at the end of it.
Fun,
So you need to enjoy it. Otherwise, what is the point of owning your own business and having that that kind of flexibility to mold what it is that you want, if you're just going to force yourself? I'm just doing this to earn money.
Yeah.
So I'll take on any work, which I think
end up, like, particularly when you're like freelancing, you end up with, I don't know, you've got 9 bosses instead of 1. You end up in a which is something that actually happened to me, which is why I can sort of talk about it with all authority. You end up being an employee again, which is exactly the situation you were trying to get yourself out of. And it's really hard, and you have to constantly ask yourself, what are you looking for in your life? What do you want your day-to-day life to look like? Do you want to be the person who wakes up in the morning and opens their laptop and doesn't close it till they go to sleep? I don't know. Some people might love that. That's absolutely fine. I was when I was at school, a long time ago now, I used to bunk off every IT lesson, because in all my wisdom, I thought that computers were going to become obsolete. Therefore, I didn't need to learn them. Little on that one. I was like, nah, they're bollocks. Obviously I was completely wrong, and I don't mind admitting that. But now my whole world pretty much is online. But actually, I'm a very outdoorsy person, and what my life looks like in 5 years' time versus what it looks like now. I mean, obviously we've got to take COVID into consideration, but let's say sans that. Still what my life looks like now versus what it's going to look like in a few years' time is completely different. But it's taken me, the last 3 years to really get to the point where I'm thinking, what do I want? I mean, when I left my job, all I wanted was the freedom to be able to work or march to the beat of my own drum. I wanted project work so that I've got my deadline, I've got my hours. When I do it, doesn't matter. I'm not restricted by hours. I mean, I was doing shift work at the time, and I didn't want to work a 9 to 5, but I didn't want to be told when I could do things. I like to you know, but as you know, Natalie, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and work sometimes, and by 11 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, oh, I'm done for the day. This is brilliant. What shall I do now? And I can either work on my business or I can lay on the sofa and watch Netflix. It's up to me, you know.
Yeah, and I think two things to add to that is that if you do the ikigai worksheet, that really helps you define.
I call it Ikagi. Is it Ikigai? Is it Ikigai?
No,
we should probably
Ikagi.
Google it and see what it says.
I did when I first learnt of it. I went onto YouTube and it had how to pronounce it, and it said.
Oh, okay. You know better than me, and I've just read it, so.
It could just be some random person who did that, and I got it wrong. I got it wrong.
So you, Natalie, it's Ikagi.
Yeah, working on your ikigai, ikagi, and really understanding that, I think, is fundamental at any point through your freelancing journey, because it could be that you didn't do that and you're in business already, and then you're like, why am I not loving this?
Yeah.
And just to, so it's not like you have to do it right at the beginning. You could be halfway through or whatever. Also, I think an important point that's come out of what you've said is, I've been watching you drink that wine and I forgot what I was going to say. No.
It's empty. I need to get a refill in a minute.
Also, an important thing is that at no point did you look back on your freelancing career or your business, working career, and think that anything was a failure. So I think that that's the point to raise and say that, whatever it was you try. I've had many businesses before this one. Me
too.
Yeah. I designed gift cards. Didn't get to interact with anybody. I'm a people person. So I think that it's fair to say, wherever you are in your journey, don't look back and think, oh, well, that was all a waste of time, because all of them were learning experiences that got you to the point you're at now.
Yeah. Cliche moment. I didn't come this far to only come this far.
Yes. Bomb.
Thanks. I'm a meme queen, so yeah, I kind of like log all these memes in my mind, and I'm like, definitely, because it's the truth. I mean, I was laughed at when I first started. I mean, well, I've been thinking about running my own business since I was probably about 6. I don't know. I was always adventurous. Why was my continual question to my parents, and they'll tell you, oh, Louise. I think that you end up through education and through just society, or particularly as a millennial, as I'm 39 next month, so you get taught that you should live this kind of prescribed, very structured version. What success looks like, XYZ, it might be, I don't know, getting married, having children. I've never done either of those. I've never wanted to. Apparently I cried to my mum when I was 4. She found me crying. What's the matter, Louise? I never want to get married and I never want to have children. And she said, you don't have to. And I was like, oh, okay, good. So, it doesn't, so it's kind of like you've got to sort of think outside the box. But all throughout school and all throughout my early working life, it was always a case of, you've got to find what you love, you've got to stick to it. No, not find what you love, you've got to find the thing, you've got to find something, whatever it is, something secure most of the time, and then you've got to stick at it. You never stick at anything. I always had that, you never stick at anything. No, I don't. But now I'm in a better position than I've ever been in my life. I've got loads of transferable skills, and no, I'm not a bloody millionaire at the moment, but equally I don't have any I've got so much self-belief. Things are gonna get nuts, and I know it. But it's constantly conquering your own mindset, isn't it? I think it's constantly having that in the back of your mind, saying, "Oi, there is more, and you can do it." There's so many people. They're all just people that are doing this stuff. So,
and the time change. I mean, I'm 5 years older than you, and I think,
darling.
I don't. I think times have changed, and I think I want to bring my children up to believe that they can do something that they love.
Yeah, right.
So it's currently a constant battle. Like I said earlier, just live each day with purpose. Their purpose at the moment is how little they can do. But if you live each day with purpose and try new things, so YouTube on how to do Halloween makeup. I don't care. Do it. Learn something. Find a YouTube on, here's some material, here's a sewing machine, go make something.
Yeah.
Because through all those experiences, you'll eventually find something that sticks. And I think that's, at every age, because I don't necessarily believe, my one daughter's going to be a pop star anyway. But I don't necessarily believe that there is when we were kids,
mm-hmm.
it was, you do this, then you get a job, and you probably
and then you work your way up the company. It doesn't exist anymore like that,
And I think that a lot of people stayed in the same job for
unhappily, they felt lucky or fortunate to just have a job, or and I know that from family members and other friends, and I find that really sad. And I didn't put it on LinkedIn, but I was going to one day, and I saw that actually a few weeks later somebody else put a post up, and they were saying, oh, are you not sick of getting notifications to say so and so has worked at such and such a company for the last 16 years, celebrate this. And they're like, I don't want to celebrate it. What are they doing? And it doesn't work for everyone. It works for some people. It doesn't work for everyone. It doesn't work for me. I've never found one thing. I'm not a niche. I'm a Jane of all trades. I'm what I call multi-passions, or what I heard multi-passions, and I'm like, I'll have that, multi-potentialite, all of those things. And it's because I've got a variety of interests that I've delved into deeply enough to become sort of experienced in each of those individual areas, and then you kind of amalgamate those and cross-reference that skill set, and turn your hands to whatever needs turning to, or whatever I fancy doing at that point in time. Like after 2 or 3 years of doing anything, I tend to hit what I call a passion plateau. And I'm like, I've kind of exhausted where I am with this now. So I can give this to somebody else now, hand it to someone else, and I say, right, I'm off on a new journey over here. And that works for me. I just feel that people don't realise that that's an option as well, I
think, it isn't that you've made a mistake. You've learned from that journey, and now you're pivoting into something else. And I think similar. So 2 mentee calls today, and they were both at the same place. And one was like, "Yeah, but I've set all this up, and I've got all of this." And I'm like, "Are you still passionate about it?" Yes, but not in its current form, and that's okay. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's completely okay. And we're in lockdown. We need to just think outside the box. Cliche. And we need to just find a route where you can make money, still do something that you love.
And everything you've done is, you can repurpose it. So nothing is a waste of time. Every single thing that you've done has enabled you to do something else, whether you recognize it or not. It has. Nothing is a waste of time. Everything teaches you lessons. You take something from everything that you encounter and everything you do. Every person, every bully, every whatever it is, something.
5,000 greeting cards I still have in a box in my house to sell.
I used to have a t-shirt company, and my mum and dad's garage is still full of boxes of t-shirts that we paid money for, in terms of a shit hot designer who is like very, very well known. We paid for the license, this image, and blah blah blah. The brand doesn't exist anymore. I could re-ush the brand, but it was very niche at the time. But yeah, I mean, I've spent, more to the point, my dad spent the money on doing that, invested in my business.
Yeah.
And but equally, it was what it was.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah,
done now. Anybody else got questions? Please do post them in the comments. We've got another 10 minutes remaining on this live, so we'd love to hear from you and see how you're all at. Just to open it up
for you, actually, Natalie, on my little list of chat with Nat.
Live with Lou, chat with Nat.
This much, yeah. Live with Lou, chat with Nat. So I wanted to talk to you about what it means, and again, another cliche, because this is something I use quite frequently, and what I talk about, and I know that you probably do as well, about working smarter, not harder. How would you define that? What does that mean to you? Throw that out.
Put me on. Okay, it's working smarter, not harder. For me, so I time block.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the fridge. I'm listening.
Okay. So I time block, and I also think that I'm at a point where I outsource the bits I don't love.
Yeah.
And for me, that is working smarter.
Agreed.
So I can look at something and I can have a doodle and have a play and then go, don't love it. And then I can phone my VA and say, can you do this bit for me? Because I just don't want to.
Yeah.
So a bit of a child in that way. I know I can do most of what I hand over to other people.
That's not the
but
point, is it?
It's not, and my time is more important, and and if it's my time to rest or my time to be with my kids or whatever, that is also a priority. So not everybody's at that stage in their businesses where they can afford to have people to help out. So that's where I would then say, a lot of people feel I have to be on this platform, and I've had advice to be on that social media, and I really need to have a website, and I really
yeah.
Let's
overwhelming.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something you've said, I've heard you talk about quite frequently. It's sort of finding out, do I have time or do I have money? So that's the sort of first question you need to ask yourself in terms of working smarter as opposed to harder, I think. What can I outsource? So, and obviously I'm not talking in terms of actual money here, but you outsource the £10 tasks, if you know what I mean. And then the tasks that you do yourself, like where are your skills best implemented? So is that sitting doing your invoicing and fannying about with a spreadsheet? It probably isn't. If you can get somebody else to do that for you on your behalf, then that frees you up for however many hours for you to actually do more sort of revenue generating tasks and make the most or get the most value out of the time within. Otherwise you just end up burning out. If you're trying to do everything yourself all the time, it just doesn't work.
And sometimes I think to myself, so I am lucky enough to have a beautiful human being who comes to clean my house.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And that to me is an essential. It's about as essential as food is to me, because
whereas cleaning for me is part of like my sort of almost like a mindfulness thing. Like I when I have a break in the middle of the day, let's say, it's because I've left some washing up and I sit and I think I need to get, I do it in order to actually take a break. So when I'm having a break, it might be to do the washing up or do the hoovering. I love cleaning, though I'm a bit Monica. And so, but for me that works. Whereas there's loads of other stuff that of course I'm more than capable of doing, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to upload all my finances onto flipping on like, I've got a friend who's wonderful who's going to do that on my behalf, and she's more than happy to do it and she's going to get paid for it. I can make things look pretty, but it takes me a long time and I don't particularly enjoy it. So Natalie, I'll either give that to you or I'd ask Sian to do it. And it's the same with what you were saying about, writing your copy. It's like, if it takes you twice as long as it takes somebody else, you can just chuck it out and get them to do it for you, and then that's where skill swaps come in. So for anyone who's starting out, I think that's something that, again, people that are starting out, they don't necessarily know that that's an option, but it is probably the best option, because they can say to everyone else, getting that network together, having all of those people, having that constant, and it's almost like you've built a team.
Yeah.
Then, they're doing this, I'm doing this for them, I'm doing that, and you've got this beautiful little network growing already.
It's got
from the get-go.
Someone comes to you and says, oh, I want my content written. You can go, well, if you want images for that, there's Sue on the corner, mine for me, and they were really great. So yes, and then you have that community and people to talk to about your business. So the skill swap has turned out to be, it turns out to be brings a lot more into your life and into your business. Gosh, I feel like we've dropped quite a lot. So well, we've got 5 minutes left. If there's anybody got questions, do post them. And with that, how did we start? We started off talking about intentions, a quick summary.
Who knows? I'm glad you've kept track, because I'm just like, I've been talking all day. I mean, I'm literally doing what I'm up now.
So
Chatting
Anna,
away.
she's got a bookkeeper, much easier, much and less stressful. Just hand her all the receipts. Absolutely, Anna, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
The thing is that
That's what I need.
Find something that you do that they need, and then you could like, oh well, I could make this up for you, I could do that for you, and then they could have that skill swap. Or if there isn't such a thing, then actually your time to work on your client work, you'd probably earn as much, if not more, than the time you'd spend. Like you were saying, it might take you 2 hours to do that keeping because you hate it. Well, so we've had no, go for it.
Sorry, we've got a bit of a lag.
It's fine, go for it.
I was just going to say, one of the things, particularly with me, is that the people that have asked me to skill swap in terms of me writing blog posts and stuff is because I can knock you up a 1,000-word blog post in probably about 45 minutes. Whereas some people, they're like, oh God, that'd take me about 3 months, And I'm like, if I know the subject and I care about it, I'm like, there you go. And what they're giving me in return would take me 3 months, but takes them 45 minutes. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. You're literally just, I think, and the other thing I was going to say is making sure that everything that you do isn't in order to gain something for yourself, it's in order to give something to someone else. That's something that I'm really centered on at the moment, is what can I give rather than what can I get,
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, particularly if you are going to do a skill swap with someone. You say, I'm really good at X, Y, Z. Can I do? I edited a guy's book for him. He's just for free, I just said, I've downloaded the free copy, and I immediately noticed a few areas that need improving. Would you mind if I took it upon myself to do this? I don't want you to pay me. But I just, I felt like compelled to help. But also knowing that he's a person that I could tap up for a favour in the future. There wasn't anything in particular I needed from him at the time, but I knew that I could do that for him probably within 2 hours, whereas he hadn't been able to do that for himself. So I just offered it, and we're still chatting now. And eventually that's, we're going to collaborate, and it's going to lead to a beautiful, beautiful friendship. We're really going to help each other out. But I think it's just looking at ways in which you can help other people without screwing yourself. Don't dick yourself over, but don't be afraid to offer valuable support to other people. I think is probably the main thing. What can you give rather than what can you get?
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I'm giving the free mentoring sessions through Ghost at the moment, because there are so many people that are struggling just with that first step. Where do I start? Or I'm here and I feel really
people that would benefit from that. It's a beautiful thing that you're doing. It's an amazing thing that you're doing for people.
Well, all I can hope is that it sets people on the right path, that they can then think, oh, I can do this, because like we said, so we started off talking about mindset, which is so important. So if your mindset's right, you don't put your huge goals in place, you've got your intentions in place that have broken down those goals and your intentions for now. And then we moved on to discussing wine. No, we moved on to discussing.
That's been a throughout feature. That's been a common thread throughout, is more wine.
Accountability partners and having that and skill swaps. So I think that's, we got it. We a lot.
And knowing where you are in terms of your why, where is your why? Yeah, I mean, we've got loads to unpack here. So I think this is probably the first Facebook Live that we've done together. I think what we ought to do really is for anyone that hasn't sort of tuned in, is share this, see if anyone's got any questions, and see if anyone wants us to go more in depth on each kind of specific area that we've covered. Because as you know, Nat, you and I could chat forever and ever and ever.
Now sharing it with the world instead of just keeping it to ourselves.
I know, right? It's like we've got little flies on the wall everywhere, and that's absolutely fine with me. I just hope that, I think, one of the things that I've personally worried about in the past is not what people are going to think of me, but like that, you feel like a bit of a dick sometimes, but actually I know now that what both of us do is really, really useful to other people. So I just want to make sure that, again, like I say, everything that I do is in order to give rather than in order to get. And I don't care if that makes me look like a twat to some people, because screw the haters. As far as I'm concerned, if I'm helping a few other people get their head around some stuff, then, you know, my job's done. You know, it makes me happy. So it's not altruistic. I'm not doing it like nothing. I'm doing it because it makes me happy as well.
And I think that leads on to a fair point, that where in the journey you are and what your skills are will determine how helpful you and I can be. So, you know, we're not going to be helpful to Richard Branson.
No.
Because he's been through this path. Well, that's also true. But yeah, you know, and you know, to understand your ideal client, which is another discussion we're not getting on there today, but to understand that will then you'll understand that as long as you've got something to give, then actually the whole, what's that syndrome? Oh, well, you feel like you're not
imposter syndrome.
good enough. Syndrome. That's
yeah,
it. And the whole
syndrome.
imposter syndrome. Yeah. That kind of like starts to disappear, because, you know, I'm here. I'm happy to say that I'm here in my journey. And if I can help anybody, fantastic. If you think that I can't help you, that's also fine, because you're not.
Yeah, absolutely. There's sorry, we've got a bit of a lag. There's I think it's on Catch Me If You Can. I think it is. Yeah, it is, with Leonardo DiCaprio, where he goes into the school and he teaches a class, and somebody said, I'm clearly paraphrasing a lot here, but somebody asks him how he was able to teach this entire class on a subject that he knew nothing about. And he says, well, it's easy. I just needed to be one chapter ahead. And I think that's what's important, is always knowing that despite the fact that we're behind a lot of other people, we're also ahead of a lot of others. And as long as we're helping those that want to get where we are, we're going to look for help to get to the next stage. And that's why it works so well. It's just a continual, beautiful circuit where everyone is pulling each other up with each other. And that's instead of being in a competitive world, we're living in a collaborative and a world where we share and we help and enable other people, as opposed to compete with each other. And I, for one, am absolutely 100% like invested and determined to continue that ideal.
Yeah. I think that, you know, you might start in your business or in your industry and feel that there is competition. That's normal and understandable. But I think that you get to a point in your business that you settle, you know, you kind of feel comfortable, and you kind of think, okay, I'm happy in my space. And
no, is it? It's not. It's just I like the fact that I now know what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, and then it's like you're not challenged anymore, and that soon gets uncomfortable. That comfort gets uncomfortable very, very quick. That's the passion plateau, mate, you're talking about.
I think it's not the competition. Yeah. You know, I don't see other people that do the same thing as me as competition. We both do the same thing, and I hand over things to one or the other, or however.
It's about giving, collaboration, giving, adding, sharing. You know, if we all do that, if we all bear that in mind all of the time, and we all just give, then it means that everyone, you know, we're also gaining as well. But we're not doing it in order to gain, but it's just a natural byproduct of giving is benefiting from that. So, you know, and I think it's a wonderful thing to do. I think that we're all just bloody awesome, really.
Hi, Deirdre. Nice to see you.
So we've been banging on for about an hour, Natalie.
Deirdre, you're in Texas.
Huh?
I can't remember. I think Deirdre might be in Texas. I can't remember exactly.
Wow, time difference.
Yeah. So I tend to not do morning lives, because I'd probably say I'm kind of 60-40 of my followers are between America and here. 60 in the UK, and then 40 in America.
Yeah.
Couple from Australia, but those
Wonderful.
are them. Wonderful.
That's
so
why you said good morning instead of good evening earlier then, isn't it? You're used to doing that. You're checking in the time zone.
Texas. I think Kimberly's also in Texas. I'm not sure if she's on at the moment. She's got an 18-month-old and she's pregnant. So yeah, Deirdre and Deirdre and Kimberly. Oh, Deirdre has the Bahamas as her real home. Deirdre was.
Oh mate, it was better than Ashford in Kent. Right now.
But Deirdre was busy getting a brand new house built, and then tragedy struck, and she's had to move to Texas. So yes, her heart is lying in the Bahamas. We know, bless her. But she's going to absolutely rock being self-employed. We've had a chat, and she has found her passion, and she's busy studying up on different bits and pieces. So yeah, as soon as she's got things to share, we'll share it in the group, and everyone can see.
Well, I hope I hope that any of your lovely, wonderful mentees and followers go back to the beginning of our hour-long natter. Yes, chat with Nat, because I think we've covered a lot of ground, and I hope that it was useful and not just me and you going blah blah blah.
I think it was very useful, I think we should probably call it a day. Unless there's Deirdre, if you've got a question, please do pop it in the comments, and we can run through just a couple of highlights that's happened through the past 55 minutes.
Looks like we've got a couple of people from. I can only see like the eye with a number next to it. So what I would say is I can't see comments or anything like that. But if anybody does have any questions, then chuck them at us. And
can you all see my dog sleeping on the chair?
Yeah, I can't believe my cat hasn't come in and started at me. Oh, I got.
So what are you?
I got a coat from New Look that looks like your dog. It's like a tape coat with a hood and everything. It's the same colour as your dog.
That reminds me of that advert where the guy's got. Is it someone's scarf or someone's hat? He's a vet, and he's like, I don't.
That's a Specsavers advert. It's the cat. Oh, don't, because my cat. I really think it's sad about dead cats. I'm glad that was a hat and not a dead cat.
Yes, indeed. Right. So we've got no questions coming through at the minute. So we will call it a day. Thank you to everyone who has joined us live, and anybody that watches on the replay. Please type replay so that we know if anybody's watching, and also please do send either Lou or myself questions for the next one, because we're more happy to answer those questions. So whether it's pitfalls or advice, we will get on it. I'm thinking next week. Don't know.
Yeah,
throw
it
out there.
Always up for a chat with Nat.
Chat with Nat. Live with Lou. Natter with Nat. Don't know what to call it yet. Yes, do find yourselves all accountability partners and try and do some skill swapping. Remember that there is an end game, but it's about breaking it down so that you're not overwhelmed.
Yeah. Connect with people that are aligned with the same values as you, and make sure that you give, because other people will give. If you're a giver, other people will be givers around you as well. So don't worry about those things. Just give. Add value wherever you can.
Well, you've added value all through the hour. So thank you very much for joining, Lou. And we'll have another chat next week.
Yeah. All right then, my darling.
Everybody, have a good evening. Thanks for joining. Bye.